Hello. How is everybody? Okay, so without further ado, what we're going to be doing today is I have updated, and I didn't realize this template from Now That's a Jig is 5 years old. It was born, it was created in 2016, and it was called Add a Bead Kinetic Link Necklace. I have taught this. I was remembering going down my my memory lane, and I remember that I actually taught this class at the Museum of Wisconsin Art in West Bend, Wisconsin. What a great place to teach a class, right? But for those of you, and I'm also giving a shout out to Now That's a Jig Jigufacturers, because what I've been doing, guys, is I'm taking these jig templates and we're updating them for those of you guys who don't have a jig. Brilliant, right? So it goes from this, okay, this, and you've got all of the measurements and things, you've got all the jig, but then what I wanted to do was make it available for you guys who don't have a jig yet. And so, ta-da. That was, did you just hear that bell? That was Sarah saying all of the listings, perfect timing, Miss Sarah, are available on Etsy right now. So, because this is the only way that I can do this right now when my brain is full, the John Bead Corporation ones, these are ones without the jig, are available to you with the instructions for $1. And I know I'd love to be able to give them to you for free. You know, Etsy is just a clinker about this stuff. So these are the instructions that you'll be getting. Carmen is seeing these, and marketing seeing these for the first time. I hope you like them. So here we go. This is page 1. All the SKUs are on there. Page 2, all the directions. You know that I can get a bit wordy, but I want to make sure that everyone has the clearest understanding, along with this video, of how to make what we're going to make. And of course, you know me, I write an instruction and then I think, oh, there could be a different way to doing it. So you know there's a lot of different ways to go about doing this, and you'll get to know me. And always, if there's any questions, just email me, b@brendaschweder.com. So, the bonus thing about today is that I have created a whole new template, which is called Neck Arc Finding. And if those of you guys who follow my blog, you know that I promised this to you. This is the one right here. For all of you guys without a jig. Now this will be look a little different when you get it, because Sarah just took off some of the Now That's a Jig pieces that'll be confusing to you. Here's how it is, all in for those of us who still have Now That's a Jig. Okay, lots and lots of lots to say. Oh great, I love you for loving them. I love it. So now, don't hold me to these, okay? There might be some slight variations, especially with what we do today. But here they are, okay? And I'm gonna leave this one up, and also remember that those SKUs are up there. If you want to know where to get these beautiful items, please do email info@johnbead.com, and they can let you know where to get them. Okay, so I keep saying without further ado again. What I'm going to be working with today, so excited, are 2 gauges of aluminum wire. Let's go down here. We'll do a little tour around the butcher block here. And I am just going to move this a little bit further down. Here's what I'm working with here. And you can see this is absolutely empty because all of these white magnesite pieces, those that I didn't use, are right here, okay, on my board. And the rest of them are on my bod. So I'm just going to kind of bring this down here to show you. Okay. And you saw a picture. Rather than me doing this, I can actually just show you this beautiful glamour shot. So the neck arc is the piece at the top, which is the new piece, and that is so that everything will drape around your neck. What we've basically done is created these links that are pretty darn long, so that they work really, really great on the length of your piece, or so basically they're going to work really well along the sides. But if at the bottom we need a nice drape, so we need smaller, shorter links, right? If you don't do the neck arc, which is how I've taught this in the past, very understandable, very doable, you'll want some of those shorter ones at the back as well. Otherwise you're going to have like, like this geometric necklace hanging. You might like that. I'm not here to tell you that this is wrong, because I'm one of the people that in this world that is probably the most different. So so anyway, so the white magnesite is right up here. Fell in love with this. It's 100 grams of lusciousness with white magnesite, and look at these shapes. It's so very cool, and I'm sure that maybe your piece will look a little bit different than mine. The beads that you choose, I just happened to choose the ones I did. This little guy I really wanted to use. Isn't he cute? Look at that bead shape. But he fell under this this thing here, so he'll be in the next piece. Now, what I'm doing is I'm also using, for all the links, this is the 18 gauge aluminum wire. Okay. What I'm going to tell you is that we are using the aluminum wire. I absolutely love aluminum wire. This is lovely because of all of the colors and things. The neck wire, we're going to move up to a 12 gauge, but you are free to use whatever other wire that you want. I always say that, my wire projects are not, they don't, it doesn't matter what wire you use, right? But I wanted to show you, I got so much to tell you. I'm so excited. You can just tell my brain is bubbling over. I have this new, this is just one John Bead drawer in my dental cabinet, which my daddy gave me. It's over there. But here they are all. We've got our little rainbow in a drawer right here. So, and those are all the 18 gauge. The 12 gauge take up 2 drawers. So, how that goes. And also I wanted to show you just a few more of the Earth's jewels that Carmi sent me to play with. We have rose quartz, these sort of nuggety shapes, really beautiful. And also I think it's interesting that, so all natural semi-precious stones, and 100 grams of these, just a really nice little chunky box here. I love that these other attributes are on this as well. Rose quartz has always been known as the love stone. So you better be sure we're going to be using these in a couple weeks to get ready for Valentine's Day, right? Also, another one, I'll just give you a little bit. Now be sure to check out johnbead.com for all the other ones. Peach Adventuring. Just a really lovely sort of caramely peachy tone, and these are gorgeous, and lots of variety within there too, not different shapes. This is sort of just like a sort of a square, rectangle-y kind of bead, but very, very pretty as well. Today, because I always like to mix it up and give you another little something, we're going to be going with the green turquoise, which I love. When I start growling, just love these, love these, love these. So, okay, so we're going to put that to the side. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to I've been just really into this sort of greeny, like, look at this. I'm just really into this sort of yellowy greeny thing, and it's not a Pantone thing at all, obviously. I think I'm actually going to paint my fireplace this color. Don't tell Jim. Jim, sometimes he'll come around, you know, we have stuff going on in the house, and I'll be telling you this. But let's make some links with this. Gosh, it looks a lot more green here, from what I can tell, than it does here, on there to here. So anyway, just know this is a greeny yellow, which I would normally not like be attracted to, but I so much am right now. It's interesting. You know how you go through different things with wire. So yes, wire heaven, absolutely. Hello, Susan. Did you hear that I was talking about you a little bit ago? Okay, so just to get your juices going here, this is another one they just whipped up this morning. Here's another version of the neck arc that's a little bit more rounded rather than U-shaped. Here you can kind of take a look. This one's a little bit more open. This is a little bit more rounded. Just loving this silhouette for necklaces right now. And you know that I had to do this one in steel. So sorry, Carmi, but I thought the variation would be okay. And also this one is done with found objects. You know me, found object maker. And all these wonderful, wonderful vintage buttons. Aren't they fabulous? So absolutely love those. And some of those are up here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to show you these fabulous new tools. This is going to be a big show, you guys, because all this stuff is just new to my people, my peeps. But I love these John Bead Pro pliers. This handle here is amazing, and I thought, I don't know. Honestly, I thought, I don't know if this is going to work for me. Here, there we go. Let's get it in the shot. Because what happens when you want to flip it? Well, guess what? It works great other way. You know me, I love the ergonomics. I love when there's a long plier that doesn't end up here in your hand. I have a little bit bigger paw, so I love it when I don't have these ends kind of like, you know, into my muscle or, you know, kind of fighting with my pinky here. It fills my palm. Absolutely love these. This is the side cutter, guys. This is what we're going to be using for all of our cutting needs today. These are the 4 pliers that we're going to need for this, and I have put them on in the instructions as well. There is a SKU for this. It comes in, I think all of these, but not this one, come in this set. This nice carrying case here. And you also see you get a nice reamer here, which I used on those buttons, I have to say, and also a tweezer. So we've got all those, and they fit in here. You know, it's great when you're on the road and you need something to carry your tools in. And I believe these would still be under 7 inches. Let's go ahead and do it right now and see if TSA is going to have a fit or not. Nope. Excellent job. Actually, they're under 6 inches, so we are, whoopsie, we're good. This is so cool. Another bonus. I do love steel. I do love steel. I hope that's okay. People who know me know that I love steel. And, you know, when I went to this, Carmi, I was like, oh, I don't have any black aluminum. I don't know if there is black. I bet you there is. But anyway, so there we go. So, okay, so let's go back to here. What I want to do is I want to show you 3 different ways to make loops, and I've got all this in the instructions too. Now, if you're going to be making a loop and you're going to be making it with a plain loop, you better be using something that's really, really strong. And I would not recommend using a craft wire, aluminum wire for a plain loop, because look what just happened. I just went like this and it just went bloop. This is buttery soft, you guys. This is a great thing about aluminum wire is that it will definitely form to whatever you want, which is why it's great for a lot of crafts. You'll see me coming back with craft projects working with this a lot too, and that'll be probably later in this month. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to just start with this round nose pliers, okay? Right, Karen, chimney wire, stove pot, wire, steel rebar wire, bobby pin wire, floral wire. It's all about the wire for steel. So what I'm going to do, let's kind of like move some of these guys along. And you can see that I didn't start using my straightening plier because it's pretty straight already, but we've got the straightening plier at the ready for use, okay? And then what we're going to be doing is just putting this in here. I'm going to grab and put my little peepers that you saw on top of my head here. I'm going to get a little closer, and what I'm going to do is I've got that, I can't even touch it right in there, right? But you can see that it's right there, just between my pliers. Now some of the things that we're going to be doing, like making jump rings, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail because I want to do some very special, like rudimentary, like bonus piece videos for you guys that you can always look back on, because we don't want to, go into that much detail with all of our cool projects, right? Because we want to get to as much cool creation as we can. So you saw what I did. I was just using this sort of hand, my left hand, which I'm left hand dominant, as a vise, and I'm just using my hand to form the very bottom of my pliers. Okay, then I'm going to let go a little bit and move it on out, and at this point I want to form, I'm going to just push this up a little bit, and you probably won't even have to, and then just continue on with that. Okay, so that is your plain loop starting. What I do then is, this is your P or your Q loop, right? But most times I would say, unless I'm looking for some sort of like infinity thing where I'm just like, want this to go away, I want that lollipop on top, centered loop on the top of my wire. So what I'm going to do is, you can see I just went in perpendicular, right, to that loop, and I'm going to go back. You see how, and just use the edge of that chain nose. I switched the chain nose. Did you see that? And then I have that lollipop on top instead of the P or the Q, and it is always gorgeous. You might need to just kind of go back in and make sure it's all formed correctly, and you'll get the hang of this if you're new to wire working. But there it is. It's beautiful. Now this is the start of this this particular link, right? And those of you who have jigs, know how to do this. But if I want to do some straightening, so if this isn't really nice and straight, this is the time to do this. Okay, I'm just going to hold this, or if I have two of these wonderful nylon jaw pliers, I'm going to do my straightening at this point, because it's a little harder to do. Now if you have, this is also a good time to do your hammering. This is the part, Carmi, that I didn't get a great hammer from you guys, so I'm going to use a nylon hammer that I got from my friend, who is my co-brand. For now, that's a hammer. Now I want to show you this. This is not optimal. So when you get your John Bead hammer, this one's a little bit beat up because I've been using it on steel, and it is transferring here to this aluminum wire. Okay. Now if I want to straighten this part out right here, I'm going to just drop that link, that loop right over here, and get right up to there. Okay. Now's the time when you're going to want to add a bead on. See, this is right here. Let's go ahead and add that favorite bead I had, this little one. The thing about the kinetic link, if it's a nice end, is that it's fun to be able to just sort of play. You know, if you're kind of a fidgeter, it could also be called a fidget link, okay? And so it can kind of go up and down as you choose. Hi, Cindy, how are you doing? And Cynthia Winter is here. Hello, hello. Karen is here. So on your table, I'm just going to show you this real quick. Let me just grab this over here. On your instructions, right here, nope, not those. This will come all together, you guys. So no fear. This is all available for you guys. Here's what I wanted to show you about this now, is that we have these link setups right here, okay? So this is when I say it's a 1-inch link setup, you have 1 inch for that bead to go back and forth in here. Now, if you're going to go with a plain loop version, you're going to want to cut 2.5 inches of wire. If you're going to go with either the wrapped or the split ring loop version, oopsie, you're going to go with this thing. So kind of made it easy for you right here. It's not going to tell, I haven't told you how much wire you're going to need for your entire necklace because that's entirely up to you, right? But here we all go with the 4 different sizes of the links. I mean, you could put, and this is a great way to figure out which size you're going to want, is just to lay it right on here. And you can see, whoopies, that will have a nice sliding. If you don't want as much sliding right here, you can do that. If you want even that far, it's going to work with that one, but it's not going to work with your 1 inch. So it's a nice little template to be able to work with. I just want to kind of let you know that. Okay, so once you know which one you're going to work with, now I've just cut off a random piece of wire here. So I'm going to make this one into a little bit like a 1-incher, okay? And what I'm going to do is right away with my chain nose, I'm going to make that right angle. But what I'm also going to tell you is that here's a little trick of mine, is that I'm going to go a little bit further from that right angle, because when I'm making that lollipop on top, as I form this with my pliers, it's going to pull the rest of that around. Little wire worker's trick there. Now I also know that working with the 1/4 inch, or the fullest part of my pliers here, that's going to take about 3/4 of an inch to work around. Because I know that, I'm going to just take and cut. I'm pretty good with my measurements. That's probably more like an inch. So we'll go to 3/4 of an inch, and we're just going to set that aside. I'm going to go way back here, guys. Right? So you can't feel it. I'm just going to work. Now you don't want to extend this wrist overly, so I'm going to go back and finish this off. And we're almost there. We're just going to topple this over the top to center it, and we've got a really nice link. Not perfect, but really, really nice. It still moves in between, and so we've got, that's the plain loop. It's kinetic and it also rolls. Hi Sandy, how you doing? Sandy, welcome to John Beadville. It's nice to have you here. So now I want to show you, kind of in order of how I learned these, is just how I would make a wrapped loop as well. I'm going to start with probably a little bit more this time, just because I know I want that wrapped loop nice and done, to give that enough room. Okay, I always make that first loop first. I'm just going to cut this off. I'm working from the roll here, you guys, just because I do that. And I'm going to go back in here, okay, and I'm going to just put this as close to that bend as I can. And I'm going to go up and around. Right? And I'm going to go past. There, I've made that loop. Just kind of reinforcing it there. Now what I like to do, especially with this softer wire, you guys, is to hold this and keep it together. I'm keeping all of that loop secure in there. And now at this point, I'm going to take my chain nose again, and I'm going to, this is coming from underneath, so I know I need to come up and over, okay? So I'm going to make that first loop, and kind of grab it. I kind of created this handle here. Let's see if I can get it a little bit closer. No, it was always interesting what will tune in and what won't. There's a lot to figure out right here as far as focus goes. Okay. And I like to go around 2 full times. You see that? Pretty nice. At this point, I'm going to get my side cutter. I'm just going to get in here really nicely. Everyone always gets a little fearful for me cutting so close, but I know that I don't have my fingers really close to here. Although I did pinch myself this morning on something else. Okay, so what I like to do too when you're making this wrap loop is just kind of like nudge, 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 nudge. And that is what's going to keep that end from sticking out too far, you know, snagging any of your clothes. And there you've got a beautiful wrapped loop. Now, I would say that this will be a stronger connection for the aluminum, okay? So when I was doing, let's just look right here. So when I was making the links on the necklace, which one did I do with the, here we go. What I didn't like was that when I hammered it, it got a little bit too, you know, marred up. But I would say that if you have a really nice, clean nylon jaw pliers, that will work a lot better for the aluminum wire, okay? So here we go again. We're just going to add the next bead. Where's my next favorite bead here? I just love these shapes. Isn't this wonderful? You could put, obviously, a crystal. We're big on Preciosa crystals right now, aren't we, Carmi? Inside here. I mean, an opening. It just calls for something fabulous inside, right? Okay. So again, we're just going to create that space for this to be able to move in. Okay. Again, I'm going to give myself much more than, whoopsies, much more than that. I'd rather cut too much than not have enough in these cases of these wrapped loops, right? Ah, Carmi, this is a review for you, huh? Thank you. That's so great. Okay, sorry, I'm getting used to being where the camera is, but I'm standing up here. Again, and just going back and there we go. That beautiful thing. Now, you guys know that if you wanted to, at this point is when you could put charms on this link as well. before. How many of us have done that wrong before, right? Just finish the link and then you can't get the charms on. You could put them on with jump rings, but so again, I'm going to hold that. It's going to keep everything in line. Love, love, love these losing my words. Nylon jaw pliers. I'm going to come up here. I'm just ever so slightly going to bring this around in 2 parts for each thing. And ready to cut again. Yes, Lynn, that's another great, thank you for that. That is another great tip, is that a crimper does, I mean, if you want to do all of your tucking of your ends, you could definitely use a crimping tool. And as a matter of fact, I think a crimping tool came, yes it did, in with that 6-pack because it's got these fabulous handles here. So that one, this would come in really handy, right? So we're just going to take Lynn's advice, and here's our crimping tool, our John Bead Pro line, and just nudge, 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 getting the right one. Here we go. So we've got that one too. Now the third one is new, and it's a little crazy, you guys, because I just thought, how could we strengthen this link, since that plain loop, you know, some people just aren't really great with wrap loops. They just kind of have a hard time with them. They are a little bit, there's a little bit of technique there, or if you don't know how to do wire working, this is another great way to be able to use this wonderful aluminum wire before, and still have it work with this type of link. And this is what happens. You saw all of my pliers started out real nice order, and now they're not. So also what I want to tell you is, in this type of thing, when you're doing plain loops or this new split ring loop, I'm going to clip off the end, and you saw me do it here with this part of the, you know, this part toward there, so that I've got this little tiny piece here, and I've got a nice beautiful end. If you have a wire rounder, which I don't have yet, I usually use, what do I usually use? I usually use a little bit of a needle file here. I'm going to support this. And make sure that you get that end really nicely. So again, those are some of those finishing tips that we'll work on a little bit later too in separate videos, because we could spend a whole 3 videos on just finishing. Hi Janelda, how are you? Your prize went out, I think 2 days ago. Okay, so here's how to do the split ring one. You're going to, it's not really a split ring because those are springy, but it gives you the look of a split ring, and this is sort of the finished one right here. Okay, this is what we're doing, but it's going to reinforce that loop, give you the same loop. I love how that, you know, these loops are you know, sort of on the same plane, which really makes the jump ring, the double jump ring, kind of do its duty, right? And guys, I just decided that this is going to be an extra long tutorial today because we're already at 45 minutes, and there's so much I want to show you. Okay, you know what? I did that off camera, so what we're going to do is start the same way we start with that plain loop. I'm going to go around once. Here's my beginning, and then I'm going to tuck that in, and I'm going to do another one. And you see I'm going on the bottom, I'm going underneath, so I still get the form of that diameter under there instead of what's up here, right? So this one's going to be a little bit bigger because this is conical. Okay. Same thing we've got here, so but this is the double one, right? So that bead is not going to come off. There's no way for that to come off. Again, we're going to treat it just like the plain loop. We're going to go in perpendicular, right, to that. And what I'm doing is I'm putting it, nudging it right up here to where the first part started. Actually, I'm going to back off just an teensy little bit, and I'm going to use that right angle right there. Okay, if I want to get in there and just crispen that up, there's a Brenda term for you. You can do that. Here's where I started. I'm just going to, with not on the camera, so I'm going to clip that off. And it's amazing how much this takes though. This takes 1.5 inches of wire, right? Because that plain loop, this one right here, takes 3/4 of an inch. So, you know, I can do that kind of math. So I'm going to go and actually measure this one because I want this one to end up really nicely here. So, yep, I think I can do 1.5 inches, and I'm still going to have room for that bead to move a little bit. Okay, so now when you're doing this, if you're worried, like, you want this to be like I do, I want these to be all both flat, but don't worry about it when you're actually making your second loop, because you can move it. Here's the one time, and then the second time. See how much a wire that used up? It's amazing. Stuff everywhere. And again, I'm going to go in perpendicular, right in the middle of that loop, back off from where you started with that, and I'm just going to bend it back and crispen that little neck up. And because I was pulling on that other end, it kind of skewed. And there we go. There's the double. Now, how do we put them together? What I do is I kind of keep aesthetically sort of in the same realm, is that you can use a bail making pliers. What I don't necessarily have one of those yet. So what I did was I just went to, before I, when I was first starting out, I wanted to make different sizes. So I just grabbed a piece of brass stock from your local hardware store, and I'm just going to cut some jump rings for this. Again, I'm not going to go into this too much, but let's just make a few, and I want to show you how to assemble these together. Again, all these instructions, you guys, are in the instructions that you can get at www.brendaschweder.etsy.com. When I'm doing this, I'm always going to give myself a big lead, and then I'm going to just keep winding around. And then you can start. I always like to have a lead, because if you don't, you end up maybe using some of this lead here, and then it's hard to wind because you've got that digging into your hands or whatever. Okay. Keeping those nice and tight. I often work from behind so that I can lay in really nicely. And then if you just need a few jump rings, which I always just need a few, I don't like to pre-make my jump rings. I'm just going to use that back, and we're going to go back and forth. Again, that's for another video. So I'm just going to cut a couple jump rings here, and then you have to true up this first edge here with when you're using the side cutter or the semi-flush cutter. And I'll get 4 whole jump rings off of this. Maybe 5. Woohoo! And another. Well, let's go at this one from this way. What you're doing here is you're always going to be putting that flat edge where you want the flat edge to be, which is going to be at the ends of your jump ring, at your opening. Okay, so you're going to want to take these to your bench block or harden them someplace. I don't know that you can necessarily use a tumbler to harden aluminum, but I could be wrong. I don't work with aluminum a lot, so I don't know that particular thing. But I'm going to have these at the ready, and so I'm just, see how I can just open these so easily with my hands. You can't really do that with steel, and everything else is somewhere in between, right? So copper is going to be softer than, you know, gold or titanium. One other tip I wanted is when you're putting on something that has a definite orientation, a heart is generally seen with the lobes up, right? You're going to keep that in mind when you're making your necklace too. And so I'm just going to connect these guys that we just did. And then quickly we'll show you how to make that neck wire, that neck arc. So I've just got these folded down and these guys together here. And I'm going to put that in there, right? And look at that, I can just close this up. I like to give it another little tinge at the top. And here's a tip too, is that make sure that you want, after you do the first one, put the second one in right away while it's hanging, because there is a way to get this all tangled up. Ask me how I know. Okay. Whoop. See how, whoa. So that's where our aluminum gives us a little bit more of a challenge right there. This necklace in aluminum is not going to be one you're going to wear around your baby that is just finding jewelry. Here we go. I'm just going to clean up my little nibbins before they end up on something. And then just so I can show you twice and we can use all 3 things that we've made, I'm just going to kind of hold these together, which is nice when you have your jump rings open already, to slide that on, right? Close it up. Be sure to ask any questions. You guys are quiet, so I'm just going to do that again. Okay, and I usually again kind of flatten that area. And so that's how you would go about just starting your necklace, right? If you have all of your pieces together, it's really great to be able to just do this all at the same time, right? Now, so how do we make that, that neck piece? Let's go back to these pictures here. And let's see here. Okay, so again, this neck piece, you could just make this necklace all the same, right? just go around with all the links. This is obviously a clasp-free necklace. So you could do this type of thing or that type of thing where it's a little bit more open. But basically you're just having this neck part go so that you can A, use more cool beads on the inside, and B, not have that sort of jutty geometric longer link going around. So this is also a brand new pattern template called Neck Arc Finding. We have a lot of different findings. But let's go on down and I will show you how to just make this without the jig. It's pretty darn easy. And this is actually kind of fun to review this kind of stuff because I remember spending a lot of time in my pantry looking for just the right thing to form around. And when I wanted to do something like a neck ring, right? What did I find? But a coffee can. Of course, this is a vintage one. Most coffee cans, I think, nowadays are vintage, right? Depending on what you... You're quiet because you don't want to interrupt the nice work. Oh, Sarah, it's so nice to see you. How is everything in Israel today? Love you and miss you. So what I'm going to do here is I'm basically going to work around there. But what I want to end up with is looking through all of my papers here. This would be the neck arc finding that you can get. That's all with this. For that $1, you get 4 whole sheets of paper. And this will tell you kind of the shape that you want to end up with, okay? So I'm going to work with a 12 gauge, and I'm just going to work in this gold so you can kind of see it come together pretty easily. Now you see how easily I can work this, right? When I'm going to work with this one, I'm going to work with a finished wire length first instead of going off the coil. So I'm going to work with 18 inches. For those of you who are new to the show, I just wanted to let you know that I usually will be done by now. I usually go over about 50 minutes, 50 minutes. But again, this is a pretty jam-packed presentation. So 12 plus 6, right? I'm going to grab that side cutter again. Okay. Since this is such, generally you wouldn't use this beautiful plier or cutter with a 12 gauge, but with aluminum it's so soft that you really don't have to worry about it. First thing I'm going to do after I've done that is true up my ends. So I've just got my finger over here. No worries, I'm not going to cut myself. Okay, that little piece went. Ah, you love the wooden slice. TJ Maxx, my dear. Gotta have a nice backdrop, right? Okay, so I got those off. This is the point again where you would use your needle nose flat pliers or your rounder. Okay, we're gonna skip that part because we already know that part. Oh, thank you, Nancy. I'm glad you like it. So now I'm just going to use, and this is me knowing my measurements pretty well and what I want to have been doing this a fair amount of time. So I'm going to go about, an 1.25 inches, and I'm just going to form 2 hooks on the side. Okay. Then I always want that sort of jaunty angle coming up. I always have to laugh at jaunty angle because that's a Kate Richburg term. Okay, so that you have sort of this lead in when you're putting your necklace together. You can even go a little bit more, but this will be flat to your body. So you don't have to worry about when you're hugging people, impaling them on your necklace or, you know, tearing their blouse or their sweater. Okay, so again to the other side. Kind of nice when we have two, and again, don't worry about having it, you know, work on the same plane or anything. Right now, we don't have to worry about that. I already did that. So again, I went about 1.25 inches here. It's probably kind of hard to gauge for you, but I'm just going to move that back. You can see again, I'm just using this hand as a vise, and I'm working this hand with my powerhouse thumb. So many Brenda terms today. Okay, and then again, making that anytime you want more of an angle, you want to use the crispness of the edge of your chain nose or your flat nose, depending on what you're working with. Okay, and so we've got 1 and 2. Okay, now how do we form? Da-da-da! I'm just going to sew beautifully. You can just see, look at that. Just by, this is so buttery. It just forms so, so well. The thing with aluminum is, though, it's a little harder to harden. Okay, I'm just going to go all the way. And then the cool trick I learned this morning is that I can just hold these guys right here. And I can get out. I can use my chasing hammer this time. Now that's the one part, is just the forming of that, right? So that gives you that angle, but you know what? Oh, here's some coffee, guys. I guess there's still some coffee in that coffee can. Doot, doot, doot. That's funny. So then I have this beautifully formed circle, and I can tease this out if I want, right? But this way, it's not quite beautiful yet because it has some warbling through it. I think sometimes when you start wire working, wire looks so easy, but there's a lot of dimensionality to it that you don't really understand at first. Okay, so this is when I will start forming and showing the wire what I want it to do. You can kind of see that it wants to do what it wants to do. And in here, I might do some planishing, right? Just because it's an end, I want to maybe finish that end a little bit and paddle that off, maybe just ever so slightly. And this is our area that's going to be doing a lot of work, so I do want to harden that nicely. By the way, my other product is, now that's a hammer. So it's pretty easy to pick that up. As long as I was going to be doing some chasing, or this is actually a riveting hammer. Okay, so you can tell just by this really pretty hardened up pretty nicely. And that's why you want to use something that's a little bit bigger gauge, heftier gauge with for a neck ring, because you want it to hold up. So you're going to want to have some hardness in this, and I can tell that I'm already getting some nice hardness to this, which is lovely. It's nice to know that this aluminum can work up so nicely. Okay, especially for someone who's used to working with steel. It's like, oh, this is really nice. All right, so you're going to want to keep going with that, but what I want to show you is that, so this is basically a hula hoop that you're going to put around your neck, right? So it doesn't have any dimensionality. It's not really forming to go around the neck, and and conform to, you know, the shoulder and kind of around the clavicles. And so this is kind of my little trick for neck wires, is that I hold this parallel, perpendicular to the coffee can, but then I'm just going to give it a little bit of a squeeze here. And on both sides, just kind of like bring that down. And then these guys want to pop up here. It's the thing, they just do what they want to do. So I'm going to kind of get it to go along. And then you can kind of see what's going here is that I've got a nice bend that will go, here's your neck, right? And then it'll start to drop that necklace down. So I'll show you on me. So here's our beautiful neck wire already. Now obviously that's going to need a little bit more hardening. You know, it's still a little fragile. But what I can do now, even with just this little opening here, I'm going to tease it apart, you know, and then just put it on here. So I can say with my big fluffy sweater on today, I certainly don't look like I'm living in Arizona, but it is winter here. It's a little chilly. But it's ready to have those pieces attached to it. And that's the beauty. You know, I could even just finish this here. Your statement almost becomes a little bit of a clasp, right? Because it's closing it. What is happening here? I'm adding it to the wrong one. 3 necklaces. Okay. So I probably wouldn't. Here we go. Here we go. I probably wouldn't make this into the necklace since I wasn't really thinking about this, but it's kind of cute. You guys have seen this silhouette before. Actually, it's not too bad, but my heart is upside down, so I'd probably move it around, but it's kind of cool. You know, we all need our zoom necklaces that we can see all of. Right? These, I love long necklaces, and they're getting so lost on Zoom. It's just a tragedy, I'm telling you. So yeah, so I think now probably, I'm just putting this here so I don't lose it, because I haven't worked in the same, this is gold and this is, let me just put it down here. Take it off because I've got so much stuff going on here. And put it on down here. So you can see this, but I've got the gold. No, it's not too bad. I've got the gold going on with that sort of goldy green, right? Now, another thing that I didn't tell you, here, let's bring it up here, is that this bottom one, you might want to curve, just because it sort of looks weird having a necklace come down. And this is what I did with this one. This is actually a little curved piece with these two hearts kind of lining up like this. And on the found object button one, I did the same thing with this guy, and it was kind of easy because he was a little bit tight on that anyway, is I just curved that up. So that's another little hint if you want, you know, your necklace not to sort of come down into a square or a rectangle at the bottom. So you can make several attachments and hang them out. Absolutely, Jan. I'm so proud, Jan. I figured out your name is Jan. I mean, that's how you're addressed. So I'm going to call you Jan. Yeah. So many. I love when a project has so many things, so many bits of potential. And I just love a lot of kinetic movement to jewelry. I think that we're wearing it. Why not take advantage of our movement and how we can make our jewelry even more interesting? So this one's got a lot going for it. I did want to mention here on this found object one with buttons that some of these are going to, you know, move. Now some of them will come down and just sort of like hit in place because they're sort of like being supported by that big loop. That's what I did this one on. But I love it. But also know too that, you know, if this seems backwards to you, your body is also a backdrop. So unless you're doing a whole big, you know, dance, and once you kind of set these, it's kind of cute. So I'm glad you like it, Terry. That is so cool. Alrighty.